Hello and welcome, I am the Dugmore, and this is the bonus facts video for our video on the Bismarck, or more specifically, how the British put the Bismarck underneath the waves. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I've invited you into my spacious editing room with me today so that I can share 7 facts that I couldn't seem to squeeze into that video without making it exceedingly long. Apologize in advance for all the birds, they'll be quiet in another couple weeks. Prinz Eugen was the heavy cruiser that was traveling with Bismarck on Operation Rhine. It's also the heavy cruiser that fought with Bismarck at the Battle of the Denmark Straits, where it landed shots on the hood before it sank. Additionally, Prinz Eugen was one of only 2 German ships to survive the war. The other one was named Nuremberg. This is one of those situations where it's hilarious. I know it's hilarious. There's 100% a joke in there. I just couldn't suss it out. Prinz Eugen, after the war, was presented to the United States as a war prize, and the United States was completely disinterested in it. Why the hell would we need this German heavy cruiser? We're the US Navy after World War II, for God's sakes. But we didn't want the Soviets to have it. It's always best to deny communists nice things whenever you can. It keeps them grounded, keeps them in touch with the proletariat. You're doing them a favor. So we take the boat, we park it in Boston. The ship comes with 1 Kriegsmarine sailor who's gonna operate this whole ship. We keep him there for a few months. He keeps the whole ship running. That guy got to go home after a few months, and the entirety of the US Navy couldn't keep this thing going. Within a week, 11 of the 12 boilers had failed. So the Navy takes whatever they think is gonna be valuable off this ship. Turns out the Germans were a little ahead of us on radar and fire control systems tech, so we took that for ourselves. It might come in handy if we decide to frig around in Asia for the next 25 years. Then the Navy thought of a fitting final mission for the once venerable, now vulnerable old warship. So she set sail, or well, set tow. What the US Navy had done was take a 1-owner, all highway miles ship and turned it into a ran when parked make an offer. So we tow this thing through the Atlantic, through the Panama Canal, out into the Pacific, where it is going to participate in Operation Crossroads. You don't know what Operation Crossroads was? It was a test to determine how effective nuclear weapons were going to be on warships, because the US Navy in the 1940s. If you want to see a whole video on the absolute unhinged testing we got away with before the public knew enough to be horrified, just leave me a comment down there. I would love to make that video. So Prinz Eugen gets parked at Bikini Atoll and is present for 2 of the very first nuclear tests the US government performs post-World War II. Test Alpha and Test Baker. Crazy thing is Prinz Eugen survives both of these blasts with almost no damage. Ultimately, she would sink because of a relatively routine leak that would have been able to be fixed easily by the US Navy if they hadn't just irradiated the ship to Kingdom Come. Yeah, basically it sat there just slowly taking on water, but nobody was willing to get close enough to the damn thing to just patch the darn hole. So the US Navy beaches the thing, trying to keep it from sinking. It ends up capsizing and sinking anyway in very shallow water. In 1975, the US Navy remembers, oh crap, there was a whole lot of fuel oil on that thing, and it's gonna start leaking out into the Hawaiian Islands, which we've probably done enough to at this point. So in 1975, they start the efforts to remove the oil from the submerged Prinz Eugen, an effort which takes, that can't be right, 43 years? I have to assume they were taking long lunches. Yeah, 2018, the Navy finally announced they were done. What the actual fuck? Anyway, the US government would not allow salvage rights on it, so she sits where she sank, contributing to SpongeBob's ecosystem still to this day. Operation Rhine, which took place in 1941 and was the final mission for the Bismarck, was supposed to be much bigger as far as the ships involved. Specifically, the 2 German battleships, the Scharnhorst and the Gneisenau. It's like French disguised as German or something. Gneisenau. Thankfully, Scharnhorst had blown up its motor drag racing, and Gneisenau had barely stayed on the right side of the waves following a torpedo attack. So both were in dry dock in Brest, France. I posit to you that if Bismarck and Prinz Eugen had been joined by Scharnhorst and Gneisenau at the Battle of the Denmark Straits, Prince of Wales almost definitely would have been sunk as well. Certainly Bismarck would have had a battleship escort back to Brest, France, and it's hard to imagine the events that we saw unfolding as we saw them. So Alternate History Hub, man, you don't know me, but let's collab on a What If Bismarck Never Sank video. What do you say? Or actually, probably better if you just do it. Beginning in 1935, the Kriegsmarine began to slowly build up for what they called Plan Z. Hilarious name. I had no idea the Third Reich named their plans the same way I present options to my wife during a home improvement project. Plan Z has me imagining Pinky and the Brain, except they're like Hitler and, I don't know, Himmler or something. Grade school naming schemes aside, Plan Z was the Third Reich's goal to rebuild their navy, to rival the British Navy. And they were on their way with the 4 battleships that they had, but the sinking of the Bismarck changed their naval tactics for the rest of the war. This was pretty much the end of the Germans' goal for surface fleet supremacy. The Tirpitz is the sister ship to the Bismarck and the only other Bismarck-class battleship to ever exist. Now, there's so much I could tell you about the Tirpitz that I left it completely out of the Bismarck video altogether. But high level, what you need to know about Tirpitz is that while Bismarck's goal was to interrupt commerce shipping between the United States and the UK, Tirpitz was tasked with doing the same between the UK and the USSR. Unfortunately, because of extensive local intelligence circles, both the Royal Navy and merchant sailors were able to avoid wherever she was for most of the war, so in reality, she only ever fired her main guns in anger once. And that was only to destroy an Arctic weather station. And yes, that is the term that you're supposed to use, fired in anger, but it makes it seem like the guns or maybe the ship were angry, and I don't think that's true. I mean, I know the Nazis were angry, but I'm pretty sure the boats were just there. Tirpitz was ultimately capsized and sunk in 1944 following a British Lancaster bombing run. This is only a fact for us because I made the video and you saw the video, but I used this picture of the Bismarck in the Bismarck video about 4 times, and then halfway through editing, I realized that was actually a picture of the Tirpitz, not the Bismarck. Great picture though, no other picture of the Bismarck exists from that angle, so I left it. What are you gonna do about it, huh? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You already watched that video and you're halfway through this one. I can't do shit. One of the greatest stories of the HMS Hood and one of the most indelible images of World War II is that of HMS Hood's final salute. It said that as the bow section disappeared below the waves, her forward guns fired one final defiant salvo. Hood's final salute. I left it out of our video for time, but a lot of modern historians don't think it was actually a salvo intentionally fired. Probably just a shell detonating in the gun house, which appeared like a salvo being fired. What do modern historians know? Friggin' killjoys? Earlier, on the very day that the Ark Royal would launch the Swordfish, which would ultimately debilitate the Bismarck, she had an encounter with another German vessel, a U-boat, which had the Ark Royal in their sights, within range. Fortunately though, like Miss Scarlet, there were no more bullets left in that gun, torpedoes left in that submarine. U-boat, damn it. Do you get it? If that U-boat had one more fish to throw, the Ark Royal can't launch the Swordfish, and the Bismarck reaches France, and then, I don't know, we're all saying Guten Tag and Gesundheit today? I would not do well in that alternate reality. I cannot stress that enough. Yeah, when I was done editing, I realized that I really didn't do enough to illustrate how dramatic the Battle of the Denmark Straits was. It lasted 7 minutes, from the time the Hood first fired on Prince Eugen to the time of Prince of Wales breaking from the fight after Hood is sunk. 7 minutes. Bismarck and Prince Eugen literally roll up and immediately sink the Royal Navy's favorite bath toy before their guns are even warm. Which wasn't luck, the Bismarck was an absolutely immense threat. And honestly, if you think about the Rube Goldberg level of crazy random events that had to happen for us to sink it, it's a miracle the Allies stopped her at all. That's all there is, friends. 7 or 7.5, 8, depending on how you look at it, I don't know. Fun facts about the Bismarck, stuff I left out of the video because I didn't want it to be an hour long. Leave me a comment down there in the squawk boxes. Would you rather have an hour-long video, or do you like having the bonus facts after the video? I couldn't care either way as long as I get to talk about the history. Now go on, get out of here. I gotta enjoy what's left of the Jersey summer. Quiet. I said quiet.